Hi there. This video is for anyone who's considering a name change. And I'm going to really dig into some of the hidden costs that you may or may not have thought about, but that you should really consider before making this kind of a decision. My name's Alex Meeks. I'm an attorney and the owner and founder of Acorn Law, a law firm dedicated to helping busy families get their affairs in order. So where I typically see clients come to me with these kind of issues and questions about whether to change a name or not are clients who are perhaps preparing a prenup and preparing for marriage, or clients who are going through a divorce. There are also obviously other scenarios that would lead one to consider changing a name, but regardless of what kind of brings you to that place, what I want to do in this video today is walk through some of the hidden costs. Now, obviously, costs are not the only consideration. There are emotional considerations, cultural and traditional ones. There's all kinds of things that go into your decision about whether to keep a name you have or transition to a different name. And I'm not going to address all of those things today, just really some of the hidden costs that I see. So I'm going to really address two main areas of costs that I see. So the first one is the work that's required, the hours of your time that go into a name change process. Now, in most, if not all states, there are certain events that trigger an opportunity to change your name without petitioning the court separately for your name change. So these are typically going to be marriage and divorce. And in those instances, you wouldn't need to draft a separate name change petition and have it served or published, whatever your jurisdiction requires. But if you're not in one of those situations, you do need to consider that there will be a filing fee, cost, and the time and effort you need to put into that separate name change petition. In addition to that, even if you don't need to do that and you're going through a marriage or a divorce and there is the capability there to do the name change that you wish to happen, there's still many, many hours of work that go into making sure that that change shows up in all the places that it needs to. The major ones that people usually start with are the Social Security office, the DMV, and getting their passport updated. Now, I'll say the DMV alone, I know when I got married and changed my name, it took me several trips to the DMV to get that one sorted out. But even once you've got those big ones checked off, think of all the different accounts you have and different places you interact with that know you by your name, your doctor, your dentist, your bank, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to need to get your name changed in all of those venues. So think about the time that that's going to take and how much your time is worth. And make sure that you're considering that when you're making your decision. Now, where this tends to really shine through as a problem for people, more so than at marriage, is at the time of divorce. So if someone has changed their name at marriage to be their spouse's name, they've gone through that process once, then when you get to the divorce side, you're going through it again and maybe not in the best mental state. And it can really feel onerous to go through all those hours of work to get your name changed back. So while we never want to go into a marriage assuming that there'll be a divorce on the other end, it is a good idea to consider that that's a possibility. And as you're considering whether to change your name too, think about whether you want to put that time and energy in on the back end, potentially, if that's the way that your situation goes. So in addition to making all those changes to your bank accounts, et cetera, another big one that you need to consider is whether you want to change your name and shift it professionally as well as personally. So, and this really brings me to my second big topic for this video. So sometimes people change their name personally, but decide to keep using their existing name in their professional sphere. But other times, people want the consistency of using the same name in multiple places, and they change their name and use the new name professionally and personally. So what I really want to talk about here is the value in your name and the goodwill that you grow and as you further your profession and as you grow in your career. So depending on where you are in your career when you consider a name change, this could be a bigger or a smaller deal, but there is value in your name, in the networks you create. Some people, there's value in their name because it's really tied to their business. So just as an example, I know one individual who built a really successful medical practice, and the practice used her last name, which was her spouse's last name. Then she decided to divorce for good reason, which of course had very little to do with her name, but then suddenly her name became very relevant to her because her name is on the sign in the door, it's on all of her promotional materials, all of her clients know her by that name, and she had to make the really difficult decision of whether to continue using her spouse's last name in her business because she built up so much goodwill and value behind that name, or to change it back to her maiden name, which was emotionally what she wanted to do, but very complicated professionally. So I don't know that there's a right or a wrong answer there, but it's definitely something to consider, both at the time of changing your name to something and then potentially, at the time that you might want to change it back. There may be lost goodwill, lost value there, and your name is something that brings a lot of value to you. It bears mentioning that these costs, both the costs of the time and energy that you put into the name change process and the potential costs of losing goodwill or value during a name change professionally, these things impact women in an outsized way. It's not very typical for a hetero cis man to change his name in the marriage process or the divorce process. It is possible, but women are really impacted by this far more than men. It also impacts a lot of individuals in the LGBTQ community. So it just bears mentioning that this is something that we really should be thinking about, the cost of this, and thinking about ways that we could make the impact of it more equitable, whether at marriage or during the divorce process or otherwise, just culturally, how we handle this. It's something to think about. So I hope you've enjoyed this video about the hidden costs of name change. If you have, please like and share. Also, if you are dealing with deciding about how to handle your name change at the time of divorce or marriage or any other time in your life, and you live in Maryland or New York, I'd be happy to discuss it with you. Or if you have any other family law or estate planning issue, please give me a call. You can find my information right on my website, which is listed here. I'd love to talk to you, and I'd love to help.